to introduce to you pianist Edisher Savitsky. He is a pianist from the USA, of Georgian region, who is for the first time in Ukraine, in Kyiv, and tomorrow he will perform at the Music Academy after Tchaikovsky. The charitable event will be dedicated to collection of the funds for the Kyiv Military Hospital. Mr. Edisher will give us details now. The first question: I know you wanted to visit Ukraine for a long time. Do you have friends in Ukraine? What Ukraine is associated with? And what are your first impressions of Kyiv? Unfortunately, I can't continue in Ukrainian this time. Maybe next time I will be better speaking Ukrainian. I'm very glad that I'm here. I have dreamt for a long time to visit Kyiv. I have many close friends in Ukraine, brilliant musicians, and long traditions of wonderful musicians in Kyiv. This time we have managed to organize the concert and to find time in my schedule for me to visit Kyiv, and I am sure this is not the last time. I'm very glad that we are trying to do some good charitable event. This is a charitable concert for those people who are victims, who suffered for defending the values which all of us respect, and we will be collecting money for ophthalmic kids. And I hope that we will raise enough funds to help these people. And on my behalf, I can just play music so that these victims, they will recover their eyesight. This is very important, and I hope my friends will also visit Ukraine and help the victims of the events of the military conflict in Ukraine recently. I live in the USA recent years, but I fled from Georgia, moved to the USA, and I know what it means when the neighboring country take the land of your country, your native country, and prevents you from living the life which you want to live. And I hope that in the nearest future we will be much more stronger. And all these obstacles and troubles will be in the past, both in Georgia and in Ukraine. Mr. Editor, you live in the USA. What people think about the events in Georgia and now in Ukraine? How they see this from the USA, where the people understand that the situation is serious? To understand is one thing, but you should also act, not only think. When it concerns Georgia and Ukraine, for me, this is very intensive feeling and important. In the West, people understand this, but this is routine for him, that such conflicts happen in Ukraine, in Georgia, in other countries. I think it would be better, I would like Western people to act more. This is because I'm from Georgia myself, and I feel myself that there are things to be addressed immediately, not by politicians, but by the society in different countries. They should act so that these hardships which we experience are overcome faster. I am sure they will end sometime. What was the idea? How the idea of this concert was generated? How did you decide on specific music pieces for this concert? I have been thinking of the concert in Ukraine for a long time, and this time I visited Tbilisi. I performed 3 concerts there, and I will be there next week giving 2 concerts, and I had some time in my schedule between these concerts in Georgia, so this week could be spent here, and we have managed to organize a small good charitable event. I am a pianist, and despite of shortness of my visit, the day after tomorrow I think of delivering a free master class at the conservatoire, and I think this would be not the last master class. Do you have questions to Mr. Edisher?
Good afternoon. Maria, Ukraine Crisis Media Center. I am a musician. My sister is a musician, and many of my friends are also musicians. My first question: those people who want to get to your master class, how can they participate? So in conservatoire, we spoke with the organizers, and I said that if there is such a wish, I can provide this free master class, and we should first, we didn't plan this because my visit is only several days, and I have a free morning the day before tomorrow, that after tomorrow. That's why we will try to do it, and next time I will provide this masterclass, and this evening I will get information about this masterclass, when it will happen. At the moment I'm not ready to answer, and maybe at Conservatoire the administration can tell you about it. And how can we get this information? On what media? We will inform later. Or you can phone to Conservatoire, they will have this information. And the second question concerning your life of musician. This is a hard way to get to the big scene at the world level. So what inspired you? How to motivate oneself to achieve good results? What are your recipes to become good musician and to earn living and live with music? And I remember the old story. And they asked how to get to Carnegie Hall. And the answer was, you should rehearse a lot. And the way you are speaking about, this is individual. Sometimes a person is more lucky, and all of us, all musicians, we should practice. And sometimes it happens that you can prevail. And you should practice. You should practice a lot and work on yourself. This is the most important for musician, because music is the process, is not the result. It's not like painting. It is the process. It's a living thing. You should feel the process. And this process should not stop. And when the person is working, then success comes, but not always. But it influences our intention. We should have proper attitude towards music. We should understand why we play the music. So we should work more on ourselves. We should develop and do everything for this. And I always say to my students that you should constantly develop. You should find different ways to be open-minded, and everything will be okay. One more question, please. Good afternoon. Thank you very much for being with us today. Thank you for this wonderful things you do. I heard that in 2007 you had the experience of distance concert. What was it? Because it is rather weird what it is. We can't understand. 10 years ago we had such an event, and I had the opportunity to play from my home in Indiana. I played the Yamaha Disclava instrument that I won in the contest, and the audience was in New York. This is a unique instrument that memorizes and through MIDI file it provides to another instrument, and then that instrument it starts to play, and this is the know-how in music. And Yamaha worked on this during many years. They spent many resources on this, and several weeks ago I did the same. I was in New York and I played in New York, and then I had a master class in Alabama University. I'm a professor of this university, and Yamaha brought the instrument there, and they put it in the hall, and I played first a small concert, and then there was a master class. So this is an acoustic sound. This is not a recording. It is go through MIDI file, and then the instrument provide the sound. So this is for remote lessons, for master classes, for addition, and I'm sure that in the nearest future that will be even more efficient. And for example, a person lives in Kyiv and he wants to go to Germany or Japan, but a person cannot go for audition, and they can play this instrument, and the same instrument will play in another location. Or, for example, you want to take a lesson from someone who lives in another part of the world. So this is an interesting concept, and thank you very much for this question, because it is even difficult to imagine what it is. And I have the feeling that for musicians it is even more difficult to understand what it is. But yes, we have such a technology. Thank you. Do you have other questions? Please ask. Good afternoon. Tell us, please, when did you start to take music lessons, and what about the hours a day in order to achieve such great results? My parents were musicians. I started to have lessons, and first I was 2.5 or 3 years, and then this was Soviet time, and then at 10 years old, at 6 years old, I started to be trained, and then the most serious lessons started when I was 15. I had some good results before, and my mother is also a pianist, and she is a strict teacher, and she supported me. And at the same time, I was skiing a lot. And for me, that was even more interesting than playing for hours. And then when I was 15, I broke a finger, and I started to play seriously, and I played for 8 to 10 hours. And these were difficult times, 1990s in Georgia. These are difficult times. And we managed to play, and all of us, we have friends, we supported each other, and we were lucky. I was lucky that I had such talented friends, because it motivates you greatly to achieve your goals, to be in the good shape. You just try to reach some good results. That's what it was. Do you have other questions? Good afternoon. Thank you for being with us. I have a question. First one, more technical, and second, more personal. First, you said about remote for the piano. Maybe there can be can it be a concert with the several different instruments? Can several talented musicians play in some remote different places? Can it be possible? Simultaneously, there is some delay in this, about 1/4 of the second. But this delay, no, we cannot play it simultaneously. For example, when we speak via Skype, there is some delay. We do not feel it. But here, when you play piano, I don't think it is possible now, and I don't think whether it will be possible in the future. But there is such an idea, of course. And the second question, at the beginning, you said that for 19 years you are living in the United States. Before that, you lived in Georgia, as I understand, and you have some personal experience concerning the conflict with Russia, and maybe you can tell us more how you reacted on the conflict and about your personal experience of the situation. Yes. I always felt that starting 1989, maybe you remember, there were demonstrations in Georgia for the freedom of Georgia, for democratic values. We continue to fight, and I was a boy, and I came to school, and together with the students and teachers, we went to these actions. These were still Soviet times. And then all these events happened, and it influenced us a lot. And in post-Soviet times, the beginning of 1990s, the war in Abkhazia, you know that conflict brings nothing positive, but we should fight for the values we have, and I have a feeling that we should fight for our values, for our positions, and the other side should understand that we have values, we're really ready to fight for them. They are really great, more interesting, more civilized than those that we see. And I have a lot of friends both in Ukraine and in Russia. We understand that politics, it creates obstacles for people and society in Georgia and in other countries. We should do everything in order that people could live their normal life and to communicate with each other, and to prevent politicians to create obstacles for this communication. And of course, this is really important question, and the situation is difficult. And I would like to say once again that at the moment there is no military actions in Georgia, and I hope that there won't be any military conflict. But we lost 20% of our territory, and there are villages where half of the house is in the territory of Georgia, and half of the house there is a wire, and there is a different territory. So you can't even imagine like how it looks, and the situation is difficult there. We should find the way out. All of us musicians, all the people in different countries, especially in Georgia and Ukraine and in the West, we should find a way to convince people that there are values that are really great, that are better than what we hear, that are better than that propaganda they have. Good afternoon, Sergei Malerchuk, Ukrainian Crisis Media Center and Ukrainian producer, documentalist. So you believe you are a person of the world, or you feel yourself Georgian? Yes, I'm a Georgian, but I am also the person of the world. And do you have the plans to open a music school where you can create your own school? And now I work in Alabama University in the United States, and I believe that it's not important in what city you live, in New York and London. So we are all people of the world. And we got a visa-free regime. So, yes, we congratulate you on this. Right, we forgot about it. Right, this is really important. And Georgia also recently got it less than a month ago. So this is really important. And it is important for musicians, for teachers. You can live in one place and you can travel and to teach in different places. We said about Yamaha, and I believe that there will be more interesting opportunities in the future. And I know that you will have a concert in Kyiv. Are you satisfied with the instrument and with the hall? What I saw, there is a wonderful grand, and as I understand, maybe some repair works should be done on the building, because in post-Soviet conservatoires and in the Georgia it is the same. So some buildings should be repaired, but it can be done, and it can be of quality. I mean the whole. And maybe in some time it will happen. Thank you. And the last question. So I would like to ask your opinion. We held the Eurovision contest. Did you see it? No, I didn't follow it this year. I heard what happened, but physically I was not able to find time for this because I performed a lot for 1.5 months, and I didn't have time and opportunity to watch and to hear the Eurovision contest. And the last question, maybe. I had several questions. Please ask. What pieces of music be performed, and are you plan to provide charity concert for our servicemen who were wounded in the conflict, and do you plan a visit to the east of Ukraine, because people in the east say that the world forgot about them, that this is the frozen conflict, and maybe you should show this. These people are not forgotten, and this is important not only for Ukraine but for the whole world. About the corner, this will be Gaiden, Prokofiev, and Chopin, and this is on the agenda for tomorrow. And concerning the second part of your question, this is a very important issue. This question was raised in Georgia, and it is still acute. We should speak about it, and maybe politicians don't like it, but the society, it should speak about it constantly, and I'm sure about it. And if it will be like this, we will have better results, and maybe we will be able to overcome difficulties. That's why not only I, but all of us together, we should remember about it, and we should remember about Ukraine and about Georgia. Often I watch the news, and they speak about Ukraine a lot, and recently I do not hear serious talks about Georgia, and I don't like it. 20% of the territory of Georgia is still occupied. And I speak to my friends and I say that we shouldn't wait for politicians when they invent something. We should represent the nation by ourselves. We should represent the values we fight for. We want to promote in our country. And we should do everything possible. And we should communicate. We should say that there are some aspects that are wrong. There is wrong attitude towards us, and we should remind about it. And tomorrow's concert is only a beginning for me. Thank you, dear colleagues. And using this opportunity, you can invite everyone who watches online, and to say when and at what hour they can join. Please come tomorrow at 7 p.m. To the conservatoire, and this will be a charity concert, and I hope that those ophthalmic kits will help people who suffered in the result of military actions, those people who fight for values. And this kits cost about 25,000-30,000 hryvnias, and people may come and join us in this good cause, and we will be able to help those people who suffered. And I hope that this conflict will resolve soon. Thank you very much for this opportunity, and please join us at National Music Academy at 7 p.m. in Architector Gorodetsky Street, and there will be a concert and a charity contribution for buying of ophthalmic kits for the wounded servicemen. Thank you very much.